You see your brother standing by the road with a heavy load from the seeds he sowed. And if you see your sister falling by the way, just stop and say, you're going the wrong way. You've got to try a little kindness. Yeah, show a little kindness. Just shine your light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, then you'll overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people on the narrow-minded street. Don't walk around the down and out. Lend a helping hand instead of doubt. And the kindness that you show every day will help someone along their way. You've got to try a little kindness. Yeah, show a little kindness. Just shine a light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, then you'll overlook the brightness of the narrow-minded people on the narrow-minded street. You've got to try a little kindness. Yes, show a little kindness. Just shine a light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, then you'll overlook the blindness of the narrow-minded people on the narrow-minded street.
Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to be here and see everybody. And welcome to everyone who's watching from home. Thank you, Barbara, very much.
Thank you.
Lovely Barbara Whitney, our music director. I'd like to welcome new listeners. If you're new listening and you have questions about Unity, please feel free to go on our website and email Tom. He's happy to answer questions that anybody may have. And please remember, for people who are here, please silence your phone. Today's daily word. Our daily word today is compassion. Acts of love and compassion build my strength. Whether in my community or across the world, many people face hardships. As a member of the human family, I am inspired to undertake compassionate action and help everyone I can. Sometimes just a prayerful thought or simple blessing can make a powerful difference in someone's life. Other times, I may listen to someone deeply as they share concerns of their heart, or I may volunteer to drive them somewhere or complete errands for them. Regardless of the form my compassionate actions take, I am motivated to be of sacred service, to bring love and care of God into manifest form through my decisive action. Matthew 14:14. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them and cured their sick. Compassion. Acts of love and compassion build my strength. So the daily word today, I was thinking about it and thinking how important compassion is for everyone, and actually how sometimes it can be really difficult for people to allow others to be compassionate towards us. We often will think of things like, well, I don't want to be a burden, so we won't ask for help when we need it. And I was thinking, when we allow somebody to help us and show compassion towards us, it's a gift to them. Makes them feel good and makes them feel a part of. So if you, like myself, sometimes feel like you're a burden, I hope you'll think of that and allow people to be compassionate towards you and work at being compassionate towards yourself. So now I'd like to say our mission statement, and please, if you'd like to, you can say it along with me. Our mission statement is, we are a loving, nurturing community dedicated to being a positive path of spiritual living to awaken oneness within us all. We recite our mission statement each week, and this year we should begin to reflect on what it will mean to us in the new year and what actionable things we can attach to it so it becomes alive in our hearts. So if you haven't yet, you may want to look at our website. Linda Kay had worked at revising the website. It looks very nice. We do write about activities we have. We also have a meetup page now that Linda Kay and myself have worked on. So if it's easier for you to go on Meetup and become a member, you can see what's going on for events here at Unity through Meetup also. We also on our website have a donate button, and we use Tidely as well. So if you get the Tidely app and you're so moved, you can donate to us through there, or you can donate to us through snail mail by mailing a check to Unity of the Seacoast, McConnell Center, Suite 246, 61 Locust Street, Dover, New Hampshire, 03820. And one of the events that we have monthly now is a meditation that Charlie Richard, one of our members, does on Monday nights. It's the first Monday night of the month at 7 p.m. We are also having a new activity that's coming up. One of them is that we have Unity Poets now, and that will be this coming Saturday at 2 p.m. Shane Mooring will be here with Charlie and some other members, and it's a poet activity. We will have a microphone for people who feel comfortable saying their poems using a microphone. Otherwise, you can just come up, and you can also come to it just to listen. And another activity that we have coming up, we're going to have a board games and card games night once a month. That will be on the first Friday of the month at 7 p.m. here at the McConnell Center. It'll go from 7 till about 8:30. Donations are welcomed for both loving kindness donations if you're so moved. And just to say that some of you already know, our broadcast is broadcasted both on, the service is broadcasted both on Facebook and on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and you subscribe to YouTube, it's easier to find that week's service, just to give you that tip. Let's see. Next week, February 19th, we will continue our year of inclusion as we look at our personal relationship between the races. On February 22nd, Lent begins, and we will take a look at Lent on the following Sunday, February 26th. On March 5th, we will look at daily practices for peace in our life. Now I'd like to do a tradition that we have here at Unity and at many Unity churches. It is called Namaste. It is very meaningful to me because it helps us really get to know each other on a different level here, and hopefully when you do Namaste at home, you can feel our energy by just seeing us do it here. We put our hands together when we do Namaste in a prayer position. Look someone in the eyes and say, Namaste. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste, everyone. So now we're going to have Barbara play another song.
In Christ there is no east nor west, in him no south or north, but one great family bound by love throughout the whole wide earth. In him shall true hearts everywhere their high communion find. His service is the golden cord, close binding humankind. Join hands, disciples in the faith, whatever your race may be, who serve each other in Christ's love, are surely kin to me. In Christ now meet both east and west, in him meet south and north. All Christly souls are one in him throughout the whole wide earth.
Well, I gotta say, I'm glad I'm here at Unity because we really try not to be judgmental here and critical. Because, wow, that was a tough one. So now I would like to introduce our speaker. Our speaker is the lovely Frank Barron. Frank has been a member of Unity since about the 1970s, he says, but I'm not sure about that because he looks a little younger than that to me. That's what he says. Frank's a retired special ed teacher. The title of Frank's talk today is It's About Love. Please welcome our friend, Frank Barron.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Can you hear me okay? Thank you, Barbara. The music is great. Always so appropriate. Thank you. Good job. Well, good morning, everyone. Oh boy, Valentine's Day is just ahead. I hope I can remember. Greeting card, flowers. Maybe I should buy a box of chocolates. See, Ginny's away right now in Florida. She'll be coming home, and I think if I don't have this stuff set up on the table, well, maybe I'll have to sleep in the yard. No, you won't. She's kind. She wouldn't make me sleep in the yard. She'll let me sleep on the porch. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. Well, today's title, it's about love. And I'll begin with a set the stage kind of story. Reverend Tom Newman was a Unity minister who shared this story with me. Back in the late 1960s, an older woman in Reverend Tom's neighborhood came knocking at his door. She was crying, tremendously upset. Reverend Tom invited her in, and they sat at his kitchen table. The woman, through her tears, explained that her car had broken down and the repairs were way beyond what she could afford. She said she was about to lose her car, then she would not be able to get to work. Of course, she would then lose her job, and if she lost her job, she would lose her home. Reverend Tom brought her out to his driveway. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the keys to his Rambler and handed them to her. And he said, "Here, take this car. This is now your car." Reverend Tom told me that she then cried even harder as she wrapped him in a hug and held on for the longest time. Through her sobs, she thanked him repeatedly. Reverend Tom told me that he had watched her drive off. He felt the most profound and uplifting joy. He was so thrilled and delighted that he was able to help her. He went on to say that he had developed a habit. Over time, this habit guided his actions, especially in times like these. He said that whenever he saw a need, he would silently ask himself, "What would Jesus do?" He told me that if Jesus saw a need and had the means to fill that need, Jesus would not ignore that need. Jesus would not turn his back on that need. Reverend Tom never expected anything in return. He simply did not give help with those kinds of thoughts in mind. However, the next day, after giving his car to that neighbor lady, Reverend Tom found a Cadillac parked in his driveway with a note on the windshield. The note was from the man who owned the company that employed the woman to whom Reverend Tom had given his car. The note read, "I just want you to know that you cannot outgive me." Wow. Ooh, Cadillac. Here's a thought. For centuries, the greatest thinkers have suggested this idea. Happiness is found in helping others. Winston Churchill said, "We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give." And this quote I really like from Muhammad Yunus, who founded the Grameen Bank, where small loans are given to the poor, mostly to women without collateral, for income generating activities to help them get out of poverty. He said, "Making money is a happiness. Making other people happy is a super happiness." Oh, yes, giving is indeed a fine expression of love. And as I mentioned before, this morning's message is, it's about love. There are three kinds of love I want to talk about today. And the first is self-love. Now, what exactly is self-love? Self-love is a healthy, necessary form of love. Self-love involves realizing that each and every one of us is a child of the absolute good, that we are all manifestations of the divine. This morning, I took the liberty of copying a few words from the Unity of the Seacoast proclamation that's out there in the hallway. And what I found it in there. We believe that everyone is divine, that every single person is shining with the light of God and worthy of love. Wow, that seems to tie right in with today's talk. That's good. Nice. Anyway, being aware of this, we can love ourselves and strive to be the best we can. Also, being aware that all people are exactly what we are, manifestations of the divine, that helps us realize that we also must love our neighbor. Regardless of appearances, all others are what we are, children of spirit, manifestations of the divine. Of course, there are times that I, like anyone else, can forget this and be moved to giving unkindness for unkindness received. Well, I have a misspent youth, and some of it's still in there. Anyway, there are times, I must confess, when anger begins to seep into me. Oh dear. An example. I am a member of a pool league in Salisbury, Massachusetts. Actually, I am the team leader of my team. Recently, when I was practicing at the pool hall, a man known for his unpleasant temper was practicing on the next pool table. I had heard that when he misses a shot that he was sure he would make, he can become tremendously angry, and he can place the blame on anyone who is near him. Well, while he was practicing on the next table, he missed a shot and came over to my table, barking at me, blaming me for him missing his shot. I, of course, was nowhere near him and his table. Nevertheless, he grabbed my cue ball and stuffed it down one of the pockets of my table, gave me a dirty look and some nasty words, and then he walked over to the side of the room where he stood leaning against the countertop of the golf playing machine. I was seething. At that moment, Christ was no doubt doing his usual gentle nudging, but my monkey mind was roadblocked with anger. This guy had inappropriately messed with me. I placed my pool cue down on the pool table and walked over to him. I stood close, my face inches away from his, and speaking slowly and clearly, I explained that it was unwise for him to poke a bear, but it was a great deal more unwise to mess with me. I slammed my hand down on the golf machine countertop for emphasis. He looked frightened and he said, "Okay, I understand." And he was bigger than I was. Oh my goodness. Later, I felt so low that I had blindly reacted. The old violence prone Frank had sprung from his cage. It would be a week before I would be back at the pool hall again, and for the entire week I kept brooding that I had forgotten to pause and ask myself, what would Jesus do? The next time I saw this man, I approached smiling with my hand extended. We shook hands and I apologized. I shared some humor, and we have been good friends ever since. I found myself thinking that perhaps making amends, requesting and giving forgiveness is another form of love. Certainly, we may see many among us who do not necessarily realize that they are manifestations of the divine. Nevertheless, we are all exactly that. So the true meaning of self-love is loving yourself for who and what you truly are, and loving your neighbor because your neighbor is the same manifestation of the divine that you are. When we realize this truth about self-love, we understand it is not the same as narcissism or selfishness. When psychologists and therapists encourage self-love, they are not talking about putting yourself on a pedestal above everyone else. And so that brings us to the talk of the second form of love, which is selfishness. Narcissists and selfish people believe they are better than others and will not acknowledge their mistakes or take responsibility for their flaws. They also seek external validation and recognition, and they lack empathy for others. What exactly are the traits of a selfish person? Here are a few. Manipulating situations to his or her advantage, and always considering what is in it for themselves. Never being prepared to do a favor unless they are getting something in return, and not caring about others or simply being unable to empathize. In other words, a selfish person doesn't give a hoot. Being conceited and valuing their opinions above everyone else. It's like, don't tell me because I'm smarter than you. And not being willing to share, like, get your own, this is mine, so step off. And it seems to me, selfishness in a person also often makes that person behave as a know-it-all. And now the third kind of love for others. Teddy Roosevelt said, "Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care." I like that. I especially like the story of the Good Samaritan and what led to its telling. Jesus was speaking to a gathering, and among the folks there was this egoist lawyer who just needs to be the one-up guy. He stands up, probably so everyone could see him trying to prevail, and he is tempting Jesus by asking, "What shall I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus asks him, "What is written in the law?" The lawyer says all of what we find in Luke chapter 10, verse 27. "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself." Jesus tells him, "Thou hast answered right. This do, and thou shalt live." But the ego-driven lawyer longs to have the last word. So he asks Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus gives him an answer in such a kind and loving way, and in a way that is a profound lesson. He tells the story of the Good Samaritan. It's so important to note that hatred between Jews and Samaritans was fierce and long-standing. In some ways, it dated back to the days of the patriarch. So, for a Jewish man to be beaten and robbed and left to die, and have two Jewish individuals see him and cross the road to avoid helping him, and then have a Samaritan, one of the hated ones, stop and help him. And the Samaritan does everything he can to help him. Wow, such a powerful message here about love. The selfishness love of the lawyer who tries to one-up Jesus, and the selfishness love of the two Jewish individuals who crossed the road rather than help one of their own. These are contrasted magnificently with the love for others demonstrated by the Samaritan, who does so much to help a person he is supposed to hate. This parable is truly a strong statement about love and caring for others. Now, how does one quickly identify a person who cares? There are 5 traits common among all people who care. In truth, these traits should be the spirit, heart, and mindset that motivate all of our interactions with human beings. The traits. The first trait is compassion. I found it quite interesting and uplifting for me that happens to be today's daily word, compassion. From the Gospel according to St. Matthew, chapter 9, verse 36. "But when Jesus saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them, because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd." Compassion. Compassion comes from the Latin prefix "com," which means together, and the suffix "pati," which means to suffer. Combined, it means to suffer with or suffer together. Compassion is a deep awareness of the suffering of another, accompanied by the wish to relieve it. For example, when a compassionate person sees someone in pain or in serious need, he or she feels the pain or the anxiety as though he or she were subjected to it. It's that case of what would Jesus do? But that's not the end of it. The truly compassionate person does something to alleviate the pain or need. Compassion is much more than sympathy. Compassion is love in action. We see it, we feel it, and we do something about it. The second trait of those who care is acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean approval. Acceptance means recognizing and prizing the absolute inherent worth of every person. When we realize and accept that everyone is a manifestation of the divine, just as we are, we then can accept every individual regardless of apparent faults. And the third is respect. Respect means considering the values of others to be as important as yours, even if they are different than yours. Respect is the first principle of aid. It means that when you work with others, You see yourself as a facilitator, not an expert. Respectful partnership or collaboration means working with others not as an expert who tries to solve their problems or correct their thinking, but as an equal. And the fourth trait, empathy, from the general epistle of James, chapter 1, verse 19. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. You got that, Frankie? Empathy is the ability to put yourself in another situation. Empathic listening is key to showing empathy. Empathic listening is listening with the intent to understand, to really understand. Empathic listening gets inside another person's frame of reference. You see the world the way they see the world. You understand how they feel. Empathic listening does not mean you agree with someone. It simply means that you truly understand them. The fifth trait is service. I like this one. To serve is to put the needs and interests of others before your own. It means sacrificing yourself on behalf of others. Service means using your time, talent, and treasure to help those in need. Serving is giving beyond what is required. In John 13:5, there's a story of Jesus giving. Jesus was giving service. This passage from Cruden's Concordance explains how the Jesus giving of service came about. Here's what it says in Cruden's. Since the common foot coverings of the East were sandals, and the roads were hot and dusty during the dry season, and muddy during the rains, it was a necessary custom to see that the feet were washed on entering a house. The common utensils made it hard to wash one's own feet, and as a rule, it was the task of a menial. But when one wished to honor his visitor extremely, or to indicate his own humility, he would himself perform the service. At the Lord's Supper, the feet of the apostles had to be washed, but no disciple would acknowledge himself to be the lowest among them, and so it was our Savior himself who, to give them an example of humility, washed their feet. That ends the passage. So the message here is that apparently the disciples were not the best demonstrators of love for others, but it seems that Jesus taught them a great and loving message by his example. A few years ago, on a very cold November Sunday, Ginny and I were sitting in the hospitality room of a Unity church. A man at our table was quite upset. He said when he attended last Wednesday evening services, he hung his new parka in the closet, but someone had taken it and left a lighter jacket. He said, it was a brand new parka and somebody stole it. Remembering Reverend Tom's words, what would Jesus do? I realized I had a parka slung over the back of my chair. I gave this man my parka. The following Sunday, the man who had taken the parka returned it, apologizing profusely. He said he had taken it by mistake and he was so sorry. So the man who now had his new parka back returned my parka to me. A few days later, one of Ginny's nephews needed a warm winter coat. You guessed it, I gave him my parka. The following day, Ginny stopped into a thrift store where she once worked to visit with her friend, the owner of the store. When Ginny shared with her friend the amusing parka story, her friend said she had just taken in a brand new parka, and she pulled it out and showed it to Ginny and asked her if she'd like to have it. She could have it for only $4. $4. Ginny bought it for $4 and gave it to me as a free gift. It was my size, and holy ravioli, it was a brand new LL Bean parka, the best I've ever seen. This is it here. Wow, much better than anything I ever owned before. So sometimes it just comes back, doesn't it? Okay, well, here comes another cold November Sunday story. A few years ago, Jeannie and I were working in the kitchen of a Unity ministry after the Sunday service. I noticed there were people peeking out the window and commenting on a young man sitting in a car in the parking lot just outside the window. I heard some mention that the car had a flat tire and the front seat had a pile of loaves of bread. Some were saying they thought he might need help, but no one went out to talk to him. I became curious and went out to speak with the young man. He told me his tire went flat the night before on the road just outside our parking lot. So he drove into the parking lot and he slept in his car. And he was hoping to get a tow to Walmart in Seabrook because he believed that Walmart was the only place he could buy a tire on a Sunday. When I mentioned the pile of loaves of bread, he explained that he collected loaves of day-old bread from stores and delivered them free of charge to food pantries and shelters. He also told me he was homeless and worked odd jobs when he could, mostly delivery work. The question that was floating through my mind, what would Jesus do? I did have something that would help. I had a AAA card in my wallet. I called AAA and arranged a tow to Walmart. Shortly after that, Jeannie and I finished our work at the ministry, so we drove to Walmart to see how our young man was doing. We found him sitting in his car at the rear of the Walmart parking lot. He told us that Walmart did not have the right size tire, so his plan was to sleep in his car that night and hope he could get a tow in the morning over to Town Fair Tire. It was bitter cold, and Jimmy and I agreed we could not let him sleep in his car in this cold winter weather. We left him there and drove about a mile down the main road to a motel and inquired about a room for the night. Now, the woman behind the desk quoted us the rate and told us it included breakfast. So we told her that this was for a homeless man, and we were going to go pick him up now and bring him back. So when we arrived back at Walmart, we found our young man in the field behind the parking lot, tossing slices of bread to the birds who had gathered around him in the grass, feeding. He told us that he knew he would not be able to deliver the bread to the food pantries and shelters, so we thought he would feed the birds. We brought our friend to the motel, and the woman behind the counter quoted a new price, much lower than her previous quotes, and winked at me as she said it. I paid for the room, gave the young man my telephone number, and told him to call me when he was ready to return to Walmart. It was just after 7 the next morning when he called and said, well, I had a good night's sleep, had a shower, had my breakfast. Can you take me back to Walmart? Jeannie and I picked him up and drove him back to Walmart. Then I called AAA again and arranged for his tow to Town Fair Tire. I saw him counting the money he had in his pocket. It didn't look to me like he had the price of a tire there. So I gave him some more money. Jeannie and I held on to each other as we watched the tow truck drive away with our young friend in his car. At that moment, I remembered what Reverend Tom said about the feeling of absolute joy as he watched his neighbor woman drive away in the car he had given her. And that same joy came flooding through me as I felt tears easing out of my eyes. We never saw or heard from our young friend again. Now and then I would think of him and would imagine him out there delivering free bread and think, thank you, Great Spirit, and bless him. There are some little keys that I find to be so tremendously helpful. Many times throughout the day, every day, I silently say to myself, my higher self is leading my day. And I also say, the Christ in me is leading my day. And thanks to Reverend Tom and all the subsequent Unity teachings, whenever I see someone in need, I silently ask myself, what would Jesus do? Would Jesus see this need and knowing he could help, walk away? Would Jesus turn his back on this need? No. No, Jesus would not turn his back, and so neither can I turn my back on needs I see when I have something that would help. You see, it's about love. And now to some meditation. As you know, what we seek in meditation is the quieting of our conscious reasoning mind. This clears a pathway for our intuitive subconscious. It's all about be still and know. And so let's find a comfortable position. When you're ready, close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Focus on your breathing as you feel your body relaxing. Stray thoughts will seep into your mind. We do not fight them. We gently renew our focus on our breathing and on feeling our body relax. Take a deep breath and go deeper. At this time, begin your return slowly. Feel yourself renewed. And when you are ready, open your eyes. I brought a little mini booklet for everyone. I wonder what it's called. It's about love. How appropriate. I'll leave these up here, and each person take one when you can. Now, Barbara, thank you.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be blessed. May I be peaceful and at ease. And may I be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be blessed. May you be peaceful and at ease. And may you be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be blessed. May we be peaceful and at ease. And when we be happy, and may we be happy.
Great job, Barbara, and our singers. Yes, yes. Now we have prayer for others. Mhm. Oh, dear. Here's our prayer for others. Now our prayer for tithes and offerings. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. So
I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my peace over the mountains. I send my peace over the sea. I send my peace into the heavens, and it returns to me.
Great Spirit, thank you. I would like to thank all of you for coming, and we will have some refreshments. Ah, don't forget that one. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. And we are richly blessed. So it is. Thank you.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, in oneness all are we. In love we walk with each other, in perfect harmony. Peace has begun with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, this joy is my joyous vow. To live each moment and love each moment in peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me.